Good morning from the Olympic Peninsula. Here's our little campsite. Baba's over there sleeping in her half tent. It's kind of quiet here today, but I thought I'd come and talk to you guys for a little while. Give you a little update on what's going on. So I'm going to try and be really quiet. It's almost 8:30, but thank God it's like this. So I thought it'd be fun to just, it's 3 weeks tomorrow that we've been completely home free. And so much has happened that I wanted to share it with you guys. First and foremost, I've never met so many people in such a short period of time. Unless I was like at a party or a wedding or something. But yeah, it's been interesting. So let me tell you the pros. I always start with the pros. So the pros are that I have the freedom to move about. I'm not in that tiny little space anymore. I love Big Camper, but I must tell you, we don't even think about her. I mean, I do, but not in the way that I'm like, oh, I want to go home. And only once have I been homesick where I was like, I want to go home, but we don't have one to go to. And I started bawling. That's just because we had one really rough night at a campground where we had a screaming baby that was teething on one side of us, and then we had a bunch of partiers on the other side of us, and it was really, really a rough night. That was at South Beach, and South Beach is, somebody had said it perfectly in the comment section of, the recommendations for South Beach campground, and somebody said, it's not a campground, it's a parking lot. And it's like it's like you're at a drive-in movie, but at the ocean, there's no barriers, there's nothing in between, there's no trees, nothing. And your campsites are really close, they really crammed them in there. So that was rough. That was a really, really rough night, and I just started crying. Wait, this sounds like it's falling into the cons. I guess the pros and cons will be intertwined. And then the also con of that sleeping is in 3 weeks, I have not gotten one night of full sleep. Like, you can see it in my face. You can see I'm like puffy. Well, this is because I got a little sunburn at the beach, so I really respond. So I'm drinking lots of shungite water today to kind of like heal my body. It's a very different experience. That's the other thing that's really cool too, is it's like, it's one thing for us to be now like we're in the woods by the water, and then there's another to be just like straight up on the water. And Bubba was not a fan of the beach. So that was tough. She barely got out of the car the whole time. Luckily, even though the weather, was nice for most of it, it was breezy. So we could just have the windows down, and she just we built her she's got her kitty condo. She's got it good in some ways. I guess in that way she can't really move around. But truthfully, at Big Camper, she wasn't really going outside anymore either. Between her incident with the coyote and our landlord's new cat last year that came in, that kitten, she really didn't go out anymore. So she's definitely been out more now. It's early, and I'm trying to be quiet, so trying to put my thinking cap on and stay present with you. But yeah, so that was tough, but that was only the first night. The next night at South Beach, we were lucky enough in the morning to get a spot right on the water, which was perfect, which is what we wanted. It was a great spot. I got really good sleep. I didn't sleep 8 hours, but I think one night I slept almost 7. And another night I slept like 6, but it was like a good solid, the ocean waves were crashing. It was really nice, and it was really quiet. Both mornings. But hi, Robin Bird. Oh, so I'll bring some Robin Bird spirit medicine and look in the comments. You can always research it on your own too, but if spirit calls me to give you a specific message with this message, then I shall do that. If not, then just research Robin spirit animal. But I've got one on either side. Hi, guys. And also they're a representation of Jesus and love. And, they say that when Jesus was on the cross, that it was a robin bird that picked the thorns out of his head. So I don't know. It's a good story. I don't know if it's true, but anyway, but they're all around me right now. And this morning I woke up to a big eagle and crows and a seagull. They were fighting for territory. It was interesting. And now the robin birds are playing all around us. There's been miracles everywhere. As you see, my channel is evolving again. I am going to do readings, but it's a little harder because I don't have a lot of access to the internet, and my phone gets really clogged up. And then also the phone, like, dying. Like today, Alder has a job, so he's going to be gone. He's already gone from early this morning until later tonight. So I have to be really mindful. Like, I don't even know when you'll see this, because I don't want to upload it while he's gone. And for some reason, my phone, some days it like holds charge, and then other days it just drains. It must be the weather. But yeah, this is summer in real time. Today is July 18th, and it's crazy to think it's July 18th at 8:30 in the morning, but it looks like this. Kind of gloomy. I guess you can see it behind me. But it's okay. I mean, I'm used to it. You know what I mean? But this is what summer's like in the Pacific Northwest. Not every day, but a lot. And the second day we were at the beach, it poured. And I mean poured the entire day. And at first it was fun. We got our little snacks and we charged up both of our phones the night before. So we were taking turns, like using each other's phones to like watch movies and, research stuff. And anyway, so it was fun. So we smoked weed and brought snacks into the tent. I made a breakfast before the rain came, a big breakfast. So that was good. So that got kind of rough towards the end of the day. Alder was just stir fucking crazy. He was just like, honestly, like a caged animal. I'm like, you need to calm down. He was just acting a little cuckoo bird. But then the next morning, it was beautiful again. And the Saturday was like that dreamy day at the beach, where you're like laying in your tent and we have one of those tents that has the mesh on top. So it's like the sun was coming in and the breeze from the ocean, and I was taking a nap. It was nice. So there's a lot of really cool things, like the nature part we love. That's part of who we are. We love it. We had so many. Oh, and then we had an invasion of the slugs. I've taken a lot of footage. In fact, I took some footage of a slug this morning, this big slug with this one big antenna that was coming out. It was really cool. It's a nice little short video about slug medicine. So I'll post that as well at some point. But we found a slug in one of our plants, and I was like, I'm sorry, but you're eating my plant. And so I took him out gently and put him, out in the brush. And the next day when it was raining, he's like, what is that? And there was something big on the tent. It was like long and thick. And he's like, I don't know what the hell. And I go, it's probably a leaf or something. And then he goes out, he's like, it's a slug. And he's like, holy shit, babe. We were inundated with slugs, and there were slugs like everywhere. It was so cool. They were on the tent all around us, big ones, different colors, like big ones. And the trail that they leave behind is magic. So if you don't want the slugs to eat your plants, put Epsom salts around the soil of the plant. They don't like Epsom salts. That's a good way to keep them. Some lady told me that. It was really nice. I was telling her my slug story because so many people kept stopping by our campsite and are like, oh my gosh, look at your plants. Your plants are so healthy, and that's amazing. And how are you keeping them so healthy? And I'm like, they're just coming along with us. I'm like, I don't know. It's like they were like, thanks for not leaving us behind. Kind of like rescue animals. Like they know, and they're really grateful. So they're super awesome animals. It's like, I feel like our plants are like that. I couldn't find anyone to watch them, and that's okay. They were meant to come with us. So it's been a challenge, but this whole entire thing has taught us so much about ourselves, organization, how important organization is. Yesterday, Alder said, I'm so glad you're so organized, because he's not, and I'm clean and he's not. And it's like, this is typical. I mean, I've learned to just get over it, but it's like, I'm like, hey, can you go put up Bubba's tent, And he's like, sure. And he goes and puts up her tent, but it's like the bag, the tent's in, like everything else just like laying there. He doesn't think like, oh, I'll go put that in the car because there's no reason for it to just be laying there. He just keeps it there. The same with our tent. He puts it up. The bags just lay there. If there's extra stakes, they're just laying around. He doesn't like, and so I've just learned to not get angry about it. And just be like, or I'll just say, hey, can you pick? And he'll be like, oh yeah. I mean, we've spoke about it. And so now we've just been trying to be gentle with each other during this process. You know, it's interesting. Our relationship is actually strengthened. Only once did we have a really bad fallout. Like the first week when I seriously was like meltdown after meltdown, when it was like hitting me that we're never going back into Big Camper and that we're never going to live on that farm again. And just like, just that typical, detachment energy. It's like a death. So you have to go through the 7 stages of death. And that's exactly what I did. I felt like I was going through the 7 stages of death and I don't know which part it was, denial, anger, maybe all of the above. I was just like, this is your fault, I was like, I told you this and I told you that and you did this and you did that. And then we finally made up, but luckily it was because it was when we were here with the sisters, the 81-year-old and the 79-year-old, Carol and Ginny, the witchy sisters. They really, helped set it straight. Like when I was telling her stuff about him, she's like, who cares? She's like, when you get to be my age, she's like, that shit is just so menial and ridiculous. She's like, you really got to choose your battles and don't sweat the small stuff. And honestly, she was an angel put in our path for real. She was like our marriage counselor for real. But it was good, like Alder worked on something she needed on her car. And, I gave her Reiki her last day. It was such a beautiful exchange of energy. And we've had a lot of things like that, the camaraderie of camping is really cool. But then you also have we had our last day at the beach the night before. These people drove in and they were awful. They were awful. It was a mom and dad with 3 sons. And the sons, if I had to guess, were probably between the ages of like 13 and like 20, something like that. And they were all so different too, different personalities and stuff. But the dad, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it, and with love, and I sent him love, but I was like, he was just a good old boy, you know what I mean? And literally, when I started to talk to him, I heard the Dukes of Hazzard theme come in my head. It's just a good old boy. That's how they were. They were from Oklahoma, and I lived in Kansas and Wichita for 22 months. So I would go back and forth to Oklahoma because on Sundays it was a dry county. So if we wanted to drink on Sundays, my friends and I would take like a road trip, or my fiance, and go and get alcohol if we didn't have any. But we were usually pretty savvy to have it in the house. It was such a weird thing. Like you can go drink in a bar, but you couldn't drink, or in a restaurant. I mean, bars were closed, but you can have a drink in a restaurant, but you couldn't like buy it in like a store. It was odd. But anyway, and I love Blake Shelton, and I know he's from Oklahoma, so you don't judge everybody by where they're from or who they are. That's silly, or any other things. There's no judgment. We're all different. But there's a reason why certain terminologies are created. And he was a good old boy. Like he had a big belt buckle, like a big one. I was like, oh, is he a rodeo guy? But just the way he spoke to me, it was almost as if he was like, woman, you speak when I speak to you, like kind of thing. I was like, oh, okay. Luckily for me and him, I knew like Southside Chicago Kelly had lived a life and she knew what she was dealing with and just was like, I'm going to let this go. And, just because someone's being kind doesn't mean they're being real, or well, he was being real, but he wasn't being kind. So I'll just leave it at that. So that was, we almost thought about staying one more day. And I was like, I don't want to be next to them at all. And it's their energy. So that's the thing that's kind of rough with that too, is all the energy in the campgrounds. Like today, it's a really calm, peaceful energy. I feel like, oh, there's an energy coming up to me right now. I feel like I'm being the loud one, even though I'm being as quiet as I can. Hopefully you can hear me because I'm being so quiet. Maybe listen to headphones. But yeah, when the weather's like this, it's actually sucks in some ways, but it's good in others because most people are a little more quiet. I just got bitten by a mosquito. Stuff like that sucks too, even though I made my own mosquito repellent. Nope, that's Bubba's. Where did I put my mosquito repellent? Ah, here it is. And seriously, can we talk about my blessed sister Jules, our blessed sister Jules? Like she really hooked me up, and last year, yeah. And so I've been making my own spray because it's just water and essential oil. It does help though. It really does help. And we have fires. There's a fire pit. But we only have so much wood right now, and I don't want to waste it because I don't know when he's going to come home tonight. Home, because home is wherever we are. So wherever he's going to come back to us tonight. So yeah, there's been good things and not so good things and things you learn. The organization is kind of easy. I mean, we've been talking about getting bins, forever for our camping stuff anyway. We have one good bin, but it's become our food pantry. But just like the little things, like I would love to have like just one bin that's like all of the plates and the cooking stuff and you know what I mean, instead of like in bags. So he's working today for a regular customer. It's about an hour, almost an hour and a half away, but it's a regular customer, and he offered to pay him really well because he's going on a camping trip this Thursday, and his car, something's going on, and he was just like, I don't want to disappoint my family. He's like, can you please help me? I'll pay you extra. And he was like, yeah, he's like, I wouldn't make you pay me extra, but gas is expensive right now, and if he's going to drive that far, he has to charge for gas. So the guy was super cool about it, was like, yeah. He's like, thank you. So after that, this week, we're going to go, there's this area in the middle of the Puget Sound that is everything from a Trader Joe's, grocery outlet, Big Lots, like all that. So we're going to go shopping. I need new shoes. My moccasins, oh my gosh, my awesome moccasins, finally, the one, I don't know what happened. They were perfect when I came out here, but I think it's been because I've been walking on rocks and the beach and whatever. And last night I went to take off my moccasin and there's like a big hole in the bottom of the one. I'm like, damn it. I can have them resold. I'm not worried about that. But I was just like, I've had those in my gym shoes. That's all I took. And my flip-flops died last year. I had them for like 3 or 4 years. So we're going to just go into town and buy the things that we need. And thank you to those of you who have donated. Thank you so much. Like, seriously, it helps so much. Our next thing is he's going to work for, he put in a barter and trade ad up here. He's been inundated with emails for barter and trade. So that's really, really cool because we're looking for a bigger tent. We were looking for bins. We're looking for like one of those things you put on top of the car, like, he just we just made a list of the things that we need that would really make our experience less stressful and hard on our bodies and Bubba, and so we've been inundated. We actually had a man, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but 7 years ago when Alder and I manifested to live our lives on the Olympic Peninsula, I had said, I kept getting a vision of a man whose wife had passed away. And it was really interesting. It was so vivid and it was so real. And the image that I had was that his wife passed away and that he had like an old cabin that was like far like back on the property. Like they had like 20 acres or something, and he kept it as like his little hunting cabin or something. I don't remember exactly the vision. I wrote it all down. We found it actually when we were moving. I was like, dude, look at this. And it was titled The Cabin in the Woods. It was really cute. And we manifested like all the things we wanted, from a deep clawfoot tub to, it's like, if you write it down and manifest it, it'll happen. It doesn't happen instantly all the time. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it takes a minute. And so that was like really interesting because he reached out and said, hey, I'd like to take you up on your ad. He's like, give me a call. Well, we had so many messages. Alder he'd put in 2 ads, one for mobile mechanic and jobs, and then one in the barter and trade. So he was trying to take them in the order they came, but we needed money more than the trade at that time. So he took the job that paid money. And so the other day I said, would it help you if I went, because he was so inundated. He was like, holy shit. And I said, please give me something to do. I'm like, I've been an assistant. I've been a manager. I'm like, let me help you. I am the queen of organization in this relationship. And I said, if I'm not going to be like working and doing readings every day, I said, then I need to feel good and useful, like I'm helping the family. So we designated me the camp manager. And so I said, let me be your assistant with your messages because I'm a good writer, but I'm also fast. I'm a fast writer. And so we just went through the day that it was raining. We went through on the campground. We went through all the emails and replied to people. It was really cool. There was cell service there, which was great. That helped a lot, especially with the movies and stuff. We need to download some movies on our phone. then this man reached out, and he said, or he had sent one message and he didn't respond. Then he sent another message the next day, and he said, if you're not gonna respond or whatever, he's like, then I'm gonna ask somebody else. And, Alder and I, neither one of us respond to that. That's a form of bullying to me. It's like, that's nice. I mean, thank you for giving us the opportunity, but he doesn't know where we are or what's happening or if we have cell service or we don't. And quite frankly, it's up to Alder how he wants to respond. So I said, do you want to respond to this guy? I'm like, because personally, I'm like, I don't like that. I go, but that's not me. I'm just your assistant in this. I'm like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, no, I feel like I want to respond to him. I'm like, okay. So we sent him a message and said, very politely, thank you. We are responding to all of the messages in order, respectfully. And it was funny because when we went through, I go, I think he was the first one. And he goes, yeah, but that's okay. That's still, we are responding and to respectfully, because we were going from the top down. He was like the last one. And it was like, and then the second message, or I think it had been like 6 days since the original message. So so we emailed him and just told him what was going on and that we were taking the weekend off to camp, and he was inundated with responses, and so he was just trying to respond respectfully. So the man emails us back and says, my apologies, thank you for responding, because we responded in a polite way, but also in like a, hey, you know what, because at the end we were like, respectfully, like, you can go with somebody else. Like, if you need it immediately and it can't wait, he's like, then you you do what you gotta do. So he responded and said, I didn't mean to be pushy. I just, my wife passed away and I'm having a tough time and I'm trying to downsize and move on. And he said, I have 5 classic cars that have been sitting here for years and they all could use some work and tune-ups and whatever. And he goes, we had a 1984 Heritage 37-foot RV that we haven't driven in a long time. I'm assuming she was sick. That's kind of the energy I got. His walls were up, and I don't really like to go into people's energy space unless I'm invited. And he said it only has 16,000 miles on it, on an 84. That's pretty amazing. That's like 38 years old. He said, but I love to collect classic cars and classic things and vintage stuff and blah, blah, blah. And he said, if you get these 5 cars up and running and help me sell them, you can have the RV. I'm like, what? I just got the chills. I was like, holy shit. And I was going to pass that up. However, I said to Alder, just because he offers you that doesn't mean we want that. I go, I don't know if I want to go back into an RV. I don't know if I want that, because the hardest part about this is you can camp up to 14 days, okay? But after 14 days, you have to move for at least 3. You can come back to the campground, but you can't exceed so many days within so many days because they don't want people living like this or living here, which you can't blame them, I mean, this, it's a great service, but we met this guy who was telling us about this family who was living like that for a year and a half. And I was like, I don't want to be moving every 14 days. Now, mind you, after high peak season, which is September, I think after Labor Day, it goes back to low season. So you can stay up to 3 weeks. So that's rad. That will be a different story. But right now, like in this space, we just got here yesterday. If we don't want to move, we can stay here for 14 days. And 2 weeks, that's what we did the first time. And it really, really helped ground us. It helped center us. The beach was amazing, but it was too much. It was too busy. Now, I wouldn't go there for a long thing again. Not just for us, but like, Baba too. She wasn't loving it. She loved the ocean. Her eyes got so big when she saw it. She was like, what the fuck? She was like, where does this abyss go? She was just like looking around and she's like, what is happening? It was really funny and really sweet. But it's just not the right place for us to take her. I'm glad we went. But I was like, no. But if we get like an old, like one of those cool army tents, we've seen them. And a lot of people on the barter and trade are like, I have everything you need, literally. Like we haven't camped in years. So I know we're going to be okay. So we could live like that. But like today, this morning, it was 50 when I woke up. And I was like, well, this is what it will be like when it's not summer. Because I woke up here before last week and it was 80. It was going to be a high of 82 that day. And it was gorgeous in the morning. Like at this point, I was already like in my sundress, sitting in the sun, meditating. You know what I mean? So, but this is a good precursor of like what it'll be like. Not to mention the rain. There wasn't rain in the forecast last night, but I could feel it. I said it's going to rain. And I got everything covered up. I finally got to bed. I laid down and it started pouring. And Alder's like, holy shit, you said it was going to rain. He goes, it didn't say it was going to rain. I go, I just felt it. He goes like, it was a blue sky. I go, I just felt it. And I'm glad. So that kind of shit, you know, you get taken by surprise. But if we were in a big tent, you know, like right now I've got like my little station, you know, so I can cook and stuff. And our tent's over there. And we've got this really, you know, cool space and everything. Everything's great. That's Bubba's grass. That's hairy grass. That's her organic grass. She loves to chew grass. Um, but, you know, it's for us, it's not a reality. I don't want to do that. And I hope that family is doing it because they want to and not because they have to. Because if it's because they have to, I mean, boy, I send my love and support to them because this is not easy. And today she's being good, but like last night she ran away and we were like, oh, fuck. And I went around to all the campsites. We actually went, you know, like all around us. And then all of a sudden, one of my spirit guides was like, she's at the campsite you were at before. And I walked down one more campsite, and there she is, sitting at the top of the stairs. We would have taken that one. It was a great one. We loved it, but it was taken, and it was taken for like the next 5 days. So I'm like, we need to hunker down somewhere. And there were only 4 open that we even remotely liked. So we ended up taking this one, which we like better. It's way more secluded. It's smaller, but it's more secluded. But Baba, I go, dude, we don't live here. When we were trying to leave there, like I took a video of it. It was so funny because she would not leave. I think she thought like, oh, this is, you know, our new home. The first few days she was freaked out, but then she was like, oh, I kind of like it here. This is awesome, you know? And she had a run in with the coyote. Like we had one night she wouldn't come in and like she had a fight with raccoons. It was like, it was crazy. It was crazy. Like, you know, so, I personally, I mean, obviously, I would live in the RV over living like this, obviously. But at the same time, if it's something that's been sitting and there's water damage or mildew or mold, you know, it took us a long time to get Big Camper to where she was. And she wasn't even in that great a shape. So we bought her for $700 and fixed the leaks and, you know, tore out where the mold was and all that. Like, it's a lot of work. I don't mind hard work, but I'd really like to be in a house. And I told him, I said, I don't think we're going to have to worry about it. I said, because he's already had people who are recommending him from other people up here. That's a big deal. And the more, you know, going over to the other side on the west side of the peninsula where the ocean was, right now we're on the east side of the peninsula in the Hood Canal. When we were here, I'm like, I don't want to live here. I'm like, it's starting to, like, you can feel it. Like, people are moving from Seattle and Olympia, and it's cool in some ways. Like, they're turning, like, cool scene into, like, this cool little, like, hippie village, which I'm a hippie and I love it. But there's, like, a hippie is just a terminology. It doesn't really mean anything. But there are some people who are really spiritual and on the path, and there's some people who are claim to be woke, but it's like you're not woke because you dress like one and you meditate and you know what I mean. It's like if you're still doing the same shit and the same patterns and you're bringing negativity or you're, you know what I mean. So there's a really, really odd energy and cool scene that I haven't quite put my finger on. So Saturday they have a market here, and the old theater was, I don't know if they bought it, if they're renting it or whatever, but there's a bunch of artists and local like transient, like younger people who have been coming through to work at the organic farms and all that. Like there's a lot of good and cool stuff happening. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, I haven't really been there. It's just my energy and what I feel. And for 7 years, I've been coming up and down here. Some of these people have only been here a year or two. Like, I've seen it change dramatically. I've seen Squim change dramatically. I've seen all of this, the West Side change. COVID changed everything, which is good in a lot of ways, but also it's interesting. So we've got people from like Port Townsend all the way down to Olympia who are like recommending us and, you know, helping us. And now we've got people up in Port Angeles and Squim, and it will probably be a matter of time when we'll get the west side of the peninsula and the south side of the peninsula, because there's not that many mechanics here and not that many mobile mechanics. And their prices are really high. And, you know, Alder's very fair. He's like, people are like, how much does he charge? They're like, that's crazy. But now he's kept his rates the same, but he's charging plus gas. I'm like, babe, you have to do that. The gas prices are just too astronomical. It doesn't make any sense. And like he worked in Tacoma last week and it was like an hour and a half each way. And I'm like, fuck no, dude, that's way too far. It's not enough or whatever. And so the Tacoma guy reached out and he wants him to do more work, and he offered him an extra $125 for gas in his time. And I'm like, well, that's up to you. I'm like, if you want to do it, that's up to you. So that, you know what I mean? We're starting to see that, you know, once we get settled, the money is going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And I don't want to live in a fear base. Like we met this really great couple, in at the beach. They were the greatest couple. They were from Seattle, and she was like, you know, really concerned, really concerned. She's like, you know, you need this and you need that and you need this and you need that. And a lot of it was coming from her own fear, like how she would feel if she were in this situation. And so many people are like, oh my God, are you okay? And then other people are like, oh, you're gonna be fine, you'll be fine, everything will be fine, you know. And I'm like, I know it will be fine. It is fine. But there are moments, you know, just like any other time in our lives where, you know, it's like things aren't fine. And so, you know, it's a matter of perspective. It's a matter of rising above the difficulties and seeing the beauty in it. Because the truth is, every time I think about being back at the farm or I think about Big Camper, I don't shiver. I don't get the shivers, but there's definitely a part of me that's like, no, thank you. I'm good, because I know and I see it. Not just that, I've barely scratched the surface of like, I'm just kind of waking back up to myself. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I realized how I was like a caged animal, and how much I was missing of myself, and this part of myself that's like, you know, wild hair, don't care, and like, you know, so what? So what? You know? So the Saturday, apparently there's a farmer's market, from like, I think she said 9 to 3. But in this place that these young artists have acquired, apparently they do a trade on Saturday mornings. I don't know if there's cash involved, but there's a trade where all different artists from the area get together. And I was like, ooh, that sounds so fun. So I want to check it out and see if I can trade my spiritual guidance services, you know. And maybe I'll bring my cards and, you know, just read by donation the way I used to do it, like the old way, you know, when I walked the old way, that way. So, you know, when I worked at Psychic Sister, obviously I was working for them, so they had a rate, but I had to give out like between 35 and 40% of what I made. So, you know, if I go by donation, I look at it like that. What's the difference? There were times I'd work at Psychic Sister and make $400 from between like 12 and 5 and walk with 250. And I'm like, I could make 250 in my house without leaving. And that's when I did that. It was good though. I acquired a lot of new friends and clients and stuff. It was great. And I'll never regret any. I loved it, loved it, loved it. But I just started to look at the logic of it. I'm like, I'm driving a half an hour each way. I have to set up. You know what I mean? I was like, it was hard because the store is open on a Saturday, or it was Thursday through Sunday, but I usually worked on, I think, Fridays and Saturdays. I don't remember anymore, but I think I worked Saturdays mostly. So, you know, that's a lot of energy to try and do spirit work. But it prepared me, if I do spirit work there, for something like that. And then it'll be a cooler energy because it's just going to be a bunch of artists interacting with each other. So we'll see. It may be nothing. I don't know. But I want to look into it. And I told him, I said, no matter where we want to be, I have a feeling this is where we're supposed to be. Brennan, Quilcene, like this area. Like I feel like we're supposed to be somewhere in here, between here and Port Townsend. We did get a house sitting offer in Port Townsend, but it's like almost $1,000 a month, and in, like, you know, it's their furniture, it's an Airbnb and all that. And I was like, we'll just have to keep paying for storage, you know, for our furniture and our stuff and his tools and stuff that he couldn't bring with him that were like way too big to take with us. You know, so we're just a lot of things, you know, right now we're just living in the moment. And that's really what this has taught me, is really living in the moment day by day. And when you have the opportunity to take these days, you know, where we have many days we don't have to move, we don't have to do anything, you know, we work and then we also rest. And I said, when we have to leave somewhere, then for 3 days, I go then for three, because we were there 4 days, and I was like, the beach was enough, 4 nights and like almost 5 days. Like that was enough for me. We got there on a Wednesday, left on a Sunday. I'm like, that was enough for me there. But if we were at another campground like this, I said, we can just do 14 days, 14 days, 14 days at different campgrounds that we really like, you know. Some are like $14 a night, and some are like $35, $40 a night if they have showers and bathrooms and a pool and things like that, like RV parks. And we have found that some of the, and that most of those you can shower anyway because it's a coin operated. So we haven't done it yet. We've been doing the spit and polish and all of that. This is the longest I've gone in my life without a full shower. I mean, I clean and, you know, I've got like my washcloths and my soap and I clean all my areas, bits by bits, but it's not the same. Like I haven't had like water over my head. I've been in the water, but I haven't like taken a shower. So that's been rough. Alder's just like, for him, it's like no big deal. He's been camping like this since he was a kid. But for me, it's a lot. But I'm dealing with it, you know, and this isn't fake. Like, this is real. Like, I feel good. And now I'm glad to ground back into this campground. Bubba is way more calm here. She's just taking a snooze over there in her little light tent. And everything will come together as it's supposed to. Because a wizard always arrives exactly when they're meant to. And I will do that reading. I just haven't had, I was going to do it at the beach, but it was so busy and so crowded and windy, you know, and it was just too much. It was way, 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 way too much. And I wanted to do it today, but like I said, he's gone all day, so I got to conserve. This is about the most I'll probably do today in terms of spirit work with you guys. But yeah, but that reading's calling to me. So the one that I spoke about, I don't remember when I spoke about it, but it's coming. There's a pick a reading coming with the Dragon Path Oracle and the Enchanted Spell Oracle. So I'm excited too because I already saw the cards. I don't know who's going to go with what or what's going to happen, but Spirit already had me pull the cards. And yeah, so thank you for hanging in here this long for over 37 minutes. And I hope that you enjoy the videos I put out. You know, if people unsubscribe, they unsubscribe. I've had, since I've been on the road, we've lost 3 subscribers, but we just gained a new one the other day. So it could be somebody coming back. It could be a new person. I don't know. It's interesting when I get my reports that the numbers don't change that much to me, or I don't notice it, I guess. And then they'll say like, you had 7 new subscribers or something. And I'm like, well, how's that possible? And I'm like, oh, people must unsubscribe and then subscribe. But but I'm still getting in the last, I just got my report the other day, but there's still have been over, I think almost 2,200 hours watched on my channel. So it's interesting, isn't it? Like that we only have that many subscribers. Today is 283. I looked when I saw, but there's still people coming. That's okay. They don't have to subscribe. They don't have to comment. You don't need to, you know, it's like whatever's meant to be will be. And this feels more like me, like talking about my life and my experiences. Feel free to ask questions if you're thinking about doing this lifestyle. I've been talking to a lot of people and asking a lot of questions myself. So many people have helped me and my family on this journey. It's been quite amazing. And, you know, people looking out for Baba. Baba's been like, she was quite the attraction at the beach because people saw her in the car. We made like all these different places for her to like sit and sleep. And it was like a cat tower. So she can sit up in the window and like comfortably and sleep and like look at the ocean or whatever. But so many people, kids, you know, were coming by and playing with her, and she liked it. She liked it. I said, Baba, you're like, it's like a zoo. Like they're like coming to visit you. But you don't even know how many like lives she's like made, like, and kids who were like bored and they're like, can I play with your cat? I'm like, sure, she'll let you play with her, you know. And but Baba was good. She likes the littles, you know. She likes being like the little queen bee, so that was fun. And when we were at the other campsite, it was really, really open so people could see her. And then people would be like, oh my God, I love cats. Yay, my cat would never go camping. Or some people are like, all year when we were at the beach during the day when it was, nice and sunny, we had all the windows down and she was like sitting like in the window. And this guy went by and he's like, aren't you afraid your cat's going to jump out? I go, oh no. I go, she's perfectly happy, perched up high above all of us, lording over us. I said, that's her favorite place to be. I said, she's between 11 and 13, so no. Now, the first night, I will say this, the first night was really bad. She got freaked out when we got to the beach, and I think she thought like, oh, she can just like go into the brush. But in the way where we are, it's like cliffs, in northern Washington on the west side, where the ocean is, and it's like, so you've got like the beach here, the campground, and then over here is like a cliff with like trees and thickets and stuff. And she ran out when it was starting to get dark, and she went darting up the hill into the woods, and I was like, no. And I like literally had a vegan hot dog like in my hand. Alder just made me a hot dog, and I was like holding it in my hand, and I was like, I'm like, Baba, no. And I like ran after her. It happened so fast because we thought she was like meow, like she wanted to get out, and we set up her tent by the fire. And we just thought she was gonna sit by the fire and she was gonna be fine. She came in, she sat there for a second, and then she like looked up and she like saw, and she just bolted. And I was like, oh motherfucker. And I'm like running with my hot dog in my hand. Probably flinging ketchup and mustard everywhere. I'm like running and I'm like, Baba, no. And then I saw the thicket. Like I literally physically couldn't get through there without being severely, severely hurt. It was like one of those kind of thickets. And she was like halfway in, and I just grabbed, her tail was up, and I just grabbed her by her tail and I pulled her back. And she screamed so loud, half the campground was like, oh, is that what we heard? We thought we heard a cat screaming. We were wondering if it was a cougar. I said, no, that was my cat that's like, bitch, what you doing? Like, get off my fucking ass, But I was like, no. I'm like, Baba, no. And I was like, when I pulled her back, she screamed, and then she looked at me, and I said, get in the car right now. And Alder ran and opened the door, and she ran in, and I shut the door, and I was like, that's it, you're done. So she stayed in for the rest of the night, and then we moved to the beach the next morning, and thank God there's like, where we were was up against the hill. Then there's like the little road, and then there's like camping in between, and then like the roundabout for the little road, and then the campsite's right on the water. So we were there, and luckily between the dogs and the road, she didn't do that anymore. But we did have a moment yesterday where she tried to run down to the beach, and again there's thicket and there's like a path, but it's all this like old driftwood, and I was like, oh my God, where is she going? But we got her. But for the most part, she's been really awesome. Like today I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and I'm like, she wouldn't get in her kennel, and Alder's gone. When he's here, the car is hers. Like it's her kitty condo. We have it set up when we're not driving. I have like blankets and everything down, a place for her litter box and her water and her food and her hairy grass. She's totally set up. But today I was like, I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and I was like, Baba, I'm like, you have to stay there. I'm like, do not move. And I just ran to the bathroom and like were further away from it, and I ran back, and she was just sitting there, and I was like, thank you. I'm like, thank you. And I was like, you want to go for a walk? Because I want to go for a walk. And she's like, no, I'm going to go in the tent. And she went in the tent, and I went for a walk. So far today she's been good. Alder's coming home tonight. The one job, he stayed overnight and slept in the car, and that was a rough night. That was the night that she was out with the raccoons, and the coyote almost got her. Man, when I saw the coyotes here are no fucking joke. I thought it was a wolf. I mean, I know it wasn't a wolf because it wasn't as big as the wolves that I've seen, but it was a big fucking, like imagine a really large German Shepherd. That's how big the coyote was. They're more wolf-like here. And when I saw the back of its hind leg and how tall it was, which, by the way, I haven't told the story yet, but I will. It was a deer. I think it was a shapeshifter. Either I was half asleep or something, but it was like the sun was barely, like, it was like the sun was just about to come up, but it was still kind of dark. You can kind of see. And I shit you not, when I heard like a rustle and I heard Baba like hissing and spitting, I like woke up and like just like ran out. And I swear to God, it was a deer. And then I saw it turn into a wolf or a coyote. Now, I might have been half asleep, but you guys know me, like, I'll be the first to try and, debunk something because I believe in the real thing because it happens to me all the time. But it was the way it turned back and looked at me, and I was like, I think it's a shapeshifter. but it helped me get Bubba in the tent and I could finally sleep. So it was interesting. A lot of magic out here in nature, and the peninsula has so much magic. And one more thing, I know this is really running on, but one more thing. The coolest thing that Alder said yesterday was, he goes, you know what I just realized? And I'm like, what? He goes, when we're at this campground, we see Mount Rainier. He goes, when we were at South Beach, when we looked at what was the best way to get there, to go south or to go north, it literally said 2 hours and 57 minutes north or south. It didn't matter which direction we went in. And I was like, wow, that's kind of wild. I'm like, isn't that kind of wild? And then, like, when we were sitting here yesterday, he's like, I just thought of something. He goes, here's Mount Rainier, here's where we are now, and here's South Beach. He goes, what's up with this line that we're on? And I said, well, moreover, I said, you know, there's so much magic in the Olympic Mountains, and a lot of people say that there's actually a portal in the Olympic Mountains, and there's a vortex, many vortexes here, a lot of time travel that happens throughout this peninsula and stuff, a lot of cool stuff, interdimensional travel. And so I said, we need to find out what's in the middle and then see how we can go there, because there is a lot of, you know, a lot of places you can drive to the end of the road and then you can hike as far as you fucking want to go. You can, I said to him, I go, do you think there's people living in there? And he's like, oh, I'm sure. He's like, I'm sure. He's like, they probably hiked, 25 miles in and no one's there. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So now I want to find out like what's in the middle there in the Olympic Mountains, because maybe, just maybe, that's where our portal is. Thank you guys. Thank you for the support and the love. It means so much to me. I know so many of you, I miss talking to you one-on-one. We haven't talked in forever. Please bear with me through this transition. It won't be like this forever. But please come back and like, subscribe, comment. All that stuff does help, to bring our message. It's my message, your message. We're all here together, to help people, because so many people I spoke to while I was camping, some people wanted to hear what I had to say. Some people were freaked out by what I had to say. But I've just been being myself. They're like, so what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a spiritual guidance counselor. And they're like, oh, that's lovely. Like, what do you do? And then I kind of tell people what I do, and they're like, oh. And some are like, oh, and then they don't really talk to us anymore, because probably I'm too woo-woo for them. And then other people are like, oh, that's cool, or I've been getting into that, or I've been meditating more, or, and when they're open to it, then I bring the medicine. Like, I'll say, hey, we thought about doing this or that. And they're like, oh, I was going to do that. I'm like, maybe look into that, So I'm working. I'm constantly working, and I am making money. Thank you to everybody. And some of you, you've been amazing, and your donations, the constant, it helps more than you know, really, seriously. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It helps me to breathe. It helps me to relax. Luckily, this place, it's only $18 a day, so that helps so much. And we're not doing the free spots right now. We're not even trying, because summertime's just too hard. And truthfully, with Bubba, all the free spots we would go to are so in the woods that I'm like real, like bears and cougars and all that. I'm sure that they do stumble upon the campgrounds now and again, but we're dealing with more coyotes, raccoons, things like that. But the big ones like that, it's like if Bubba runs, we're not in a campground. I can't be like, hey, did you see my cat? You know what I mean? It's like, I've got to pray that she will find her. I know their sense of smell is like 200 times more than ours, but still, you know what I mean? So I said, I don't know how I feel about that. That's like something, if like Spirit really wants us to do that, then we will. But other than that, it helps to stay at the paid ones. I feel a little more safe with her. Not us so much. We'll be okay. But so thank you. I am in gratitude for your love and support of our beautiful family and this spiritual family. And, just stay tuned. I've been taking videos like crazy. I think I uploaded like 30 videos yesterday. Cool meditation videos, sunsets, sun, rises, like fun, cool stuff. So I love you guys so much. Take really good care of yourselves and each other. And feel free to comment below and let me know what's going on with you. Until next time, blessed be. Aho.